Hey everyone, this is Sean. Welcome back to my channel. Press the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I'm always looking for the dialogue. I'm always looking forward to reading comments when those of you who take time out of your day to respond to other people's comments. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to recover stolen property. And this is actually a question from one of our subscribers. This subscriber wanted to know, hey Sean, how do you recover stolen property from somebody as a private security officer? Some of you know the answer to this, but there's a lot more that we need to discuss than just recovering property. There's a lot more that you need to know as a private security officer than just taking an item back. So let's discuss. So if you're working private security, you might get people that are shoplifting. They might be walking out of the store with property that belongs to the store in hand. As an agent of the property, you are able to recover that property, and you can use reasonable force in doing so. What I don't want you to do, and what I don't think is a good idea, is for you to engage in a life and death struggle with a shoplifter. There's been a lot of private security officers who have lost their life trying to recover merchandise from the store. It just doesn't make any sense. The merchandise may cost $20, maybe a loaf of bread, a soda, yet we have security officers out there losing their life for $20 for $5. Some of you might be thinking, well, how about a $1,000 item? Is that $1,000 item worth your life? I don't even think $1 million item is worth your life at all. I just don't think it's worth it, guys. I have talked to a manager at Walmart lately, and he told me that every day there are dozens and dozens of people who they catch stealing, and they just don't call the police anymore. There are just too many of them right now. And if you're in California, thievery has gotten out of control, especially in cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, you name it. It's out of control right now. But if you feel the need to recover an item that belongs to your employer, here's the steps. Person walks out with what you believe is property that belongs to the employer. Make sure that it's employer's property. Make sure, or your client's property. You have to make sure. If you get into a struggle and you end up using force against this person and it wasn't property that belonged to the client, there is usually no good faith exemption for private security officers. You are going to lose your job, maybe, and you are perhaps going to be sued. It's not the jury award that hurts most of the time. That also hurts, but what hurts in the beginning is the attorney fees. You are going to have to fork out money out of your own pocket to defend yourself. Hopefully, your security employer will cover you, but if you're working outside, if you do something outside of the scope of your employment, you might not be covered. So if your employer is a hands-off employer, meaning that you don't make physical arrests and you're out there making physical arrests, your employer is going to have a good argument that they should not cover you in the lawsuit, that you worked beyond the scope of your employment. So make sure that that item belongs to your employer. Make sure that it in fact belongs to your employer. Second, ask for a receipt. Like, just kind of get near the person. Hey, sir, ma'am, I noticed that you have this item in your hand. I don't see that you have a grocery bag. Unfortunately, in California, you don't have to have grocery bags anymore, but other states that give you grocery bags. Hey, I noticed that you don't have a grocery bag. Can I see your receipt for the item that you're about to walk out with? Ask for permission, you guys. 90% of the time, they'll just stop and they'll give it to you. Sometimes there's people who forget to pay. I'm going to say this publicly on YouTube, guys. When I was a juvenile, I walked out of a 7-Eleven store with candy in my hand. Later on, I realized that I forgot to pay. I paid for some other items, but I didn't pay for this I think it was a blow pop or something like that, and it was 25 cents. So I felt really horrible about it. And 2 weeks later, I went back to the store, and mind you, I was a youngster. I don't remember the age, maybe 14, 15. I said, hey, I apologize, but I forgot to pay about 2 weeks ago. Here's your quarter. Some people walk out of stores without paying. They forget. Okay, they forget. Or you can also mention to them, hey, I noticed that you didn't pay for this item. You walked past the register. Do you have a receipt? Maybe there's something that I missed. Okay. Now, if they continue to walk out, in California, as long as you have reasonable suspicion not probable cause or reasonable cause, but reasonable suspicion that the item that they're walking out with is stolen, that doesn't belong to an employer, okay, you can detain this person. That's California. It's called the merchant privilege rule. Other states have a very similar policy, very similar rule, law. Getting all mixed up. Policy, rule, law. Okay, make sure that you find out what your state says about these types of situations. And by the way, this video does not contain any legal or professional advice. Do your own due diligence. This is just my personal opinion reflected in the video. Should you wait until that they walk out of the store to recover those items? It's up to you guys, but a good argument is, hey, you know what? I was going to pay. I haven't even left the store. So I think it's a good idea to at least wait until they pass the metal detectors, but sometimes it's a better idea to wait until they walk out of the store. Now, yes, you're increasing your chances of somebody pulling a weapon on you once you break that exit area, or once you enter this exit area. What I've seen in my career is most people resist more the farther they get away from the store. So you're gonna have to do your own risk assessment. Is it worth me stopping him outside the store? Is it worth me stopping them inside the store? You got to weigh the cons and the benefits of it. Sometimes after the metal detectors, there's like a halfway point where the shopping carts are at. You'll usually see this at Walmart or Target. This is kind of like your gray zone, your no man's land. Usually in that area, you're walking there. I want to say that's a good area to begin a conversation. Like, hey, can I see a receipt for that item? Or, hey, I noticed that you didn't pay. Okay, that's a better confrontational area. By the time that they actually stop walking, they'll probably be at the exit door. Now, I don't have a lot of experience in loss prevention, working undercover loss prevention. So those of you who work loss prevention undercover, always looking for a dialogue, always looking forward to your comments as well. Something that you also have to keep in mind is that when they walk away with the item in their hand, let's just say they're stealing a bottle of water. They have it in their hand, and you're trying to recover physically this item. If they push you, or they threaten, hey, I'm going to hurt you, or something to that degree, that becomes a robbery. I don't care what state you're in. Most states, that's a robbery. Robbery is basically the felonious taking of personal property from the possession of another using force or fear. Basically, you're taking the property from somebody and you're threatening them with either verbal threats or physical threats. So if you're in a life and death struggle, not even life and death struggle, but just a struggle for this item, that is using force. That's using force against you. They just turned a shoplifting charge to a robbery, which is usually a felony punishable by state prison. In most states, if your state has a 3-strike law, this can be the 3rd strike. Okay, so let's just say they're walking away with the item in their hand and you're physically grabbing them to effect the private person's arrest. As long as they have that item with them, if they push you away, they use some type of force against you, that is a robbery. That's a robbery. Okay, not everybody realizes that. You got a simple shove. You try to recover the property from the person. Simple shove at you. That's it. Hey, if they approach you, you approach them, and they tell you, hey, I'm gonna beat your ass. You get near me. As long as they have that property and they're walking out, that's a robbery. It's a robbery in most jurisdictions. So let's get that clear. Something that most law enforcement officers don't know, and security, even private investigators don't know, is that you're able to reclaim chattel. And this is a legal theory under civil law. Chattel refers to basically property. So if somebody has your property, you're able to reclaim that property using reasonable means. There was a case involving O.J. Simpson in Las Vegas. He went inside of a hotel room trying to reclaim his chattel. Unfortunately, he brought weapons to the situation. I think he was armed, and he was charged with robbery. Well, his legal excuse is, hey, I was trying to reclaim the chattel. The problem was that it wasn't done in a reasonable manner. I mean, you could technically go inside of somebody's home. Again, it's not legal professional advice under civil law to reclaim your property, but it has to be done in a reasonable manner. Okay, reasonable manner. Cell phones. The subscriber wanted me to address cell phones, and sometimes you press the Find Me button on a computer to find your cell phone, and then sometimes it's tracked inside of somebody's house or on the property. How do you go about recovering that? Your best bet is to contact the police department, and I'll tell you exactly what they'll do. Number one, they might not even respond. Number two, so this is what's going to happen. They're going to knock on the door. Hey, sir, ma'am. They might. We noticed that this phone that doesn't belong to you or doesn't belong to anybody registered to this house, it tracks, the tracking software tracks it back to the inside of your house. Can I have the phone back? That's what would happen in a lot of circumstances, not most. About, I don't know, guys, I'm just throwing a number out there. Maybe 90% of the time, no, I don't have your phone. Okay? You ping your phone and it still comes back to the house. What are the options? Well, the police, they can hold the scene, get a search warrant, execute the search warrant, recover your phone. A lot of you are saying, hey, that sounds great. Guys, that's not going to happen most of the time. Most police departments are understaffed. Even the ones that are staffed, they're not going to get a search warrant for your phone that's inside of someone's house, even if it's stolen. Now, if this is a robbery, you're talking about an armed robbery or a robbery using force of fear, they probably will get a search warrant. It just depends on how much manpower they have for the day. But this is why they're not going to be doing this. They're not going to be getting a search warrant for your $1,300, $1,400 iPhone or whatever phone that you have, Galaxy. You're going to have 2 officers, 2 deputies secure the scene. That means one in the front, one in the back, at the very least. They're going to have to hold the scene until someone gets a search warrant. For me, writing up a search warrant and getting it approved by a supervisor, 2 hours, guys. An easy 2 hours. So, number one, just knocking on the door, setting the perimeter up, running background checks or record checks on possible occupants of the house, of vehicles, that's all going to take 1 hour. The whole search warrant process, 2 hours. Remember, law enforcement has to get that search warrant signed by a judge. If it's in the middle of the night, well, number one, that warrant has to be endorsed for night service. And number two, you're going to have find a judge that's willing to wake up in the middle of the night to sign off on the search warrant. A lot of officers don't like to do that. Even if it's daytime, okay, you're still looking at 2 hours for the whole search warrant process. We're already at 3 hours. Once you serve the search warrant, okay, you have to search the house, and any items that you take, you're going to have to take inventory of it. Okay, so maybe that there's fruits of the crime that might be in the house. Okay, you're going to have to take a search. You're going to have to write up a proper receipt, and then you're also going to have to kind of write a memorandum, whatnot, on any damaged items. Maybe there's a door that was damaged. Maybe they didn't open the door during search warrant. Most search warrants, they're executed in I want to say that a non-threatening manner. Basically, police officers are knocking on the door. They give a search warrant to the occupants, and then they come in. So we're already at the 4th hour. You got to inventory everything. You got to write up damaged equipment. You're already at the 4th hour. Now you're going to have to get a police report. The officer needs to finish a police report, a detailed one, because you just served a search warrant. You're looking at 5 to 6 hours of manpower, guys. A search warrant typically takes 4 officers, 4 deputies off the streets. You're taking them off the streets for maybe an hour, maybe more, all for a $1,300 iPhone. In most circumstances, they are not going to do it, guys. And this is another thing. When a police officer enters a house, there's always that chance that somebody innocent is going to get shot. I mean, maybe fractions of a percentage. Police officers try to be as careful as possible, but there's always that chance. There's always a chance that officers are going to get shot too. Are police officers willing to take a chance for this $1,300 iPhone or even a $2,000 phone, if that exists right now? It probably will soon. I don't think it's worth it. And also, what is the accuracy of this? So when you track your phone, when it says is at this house, is it really at the house? Because guys, I've been at houses throughout my career where I get there and the people, the victims are so insistent that the phone is in the house. I later found out that it's 100 yards off or 20 yards off. And we're at the wrong house the whole time. And sometimes, it'll tell you the accuracy, 99%. Nothing is 100%. Are police officers going to risk life and limb and their career for that? No, not for a $1,300 phone. So guys, if your phone gets taken, even if this is a corporate phone with a bunch of confidential information, the police are most likely not going to serve a search warrant. They can always knock on the door, run people for background checks, record checks. If they have a warrant, they'll maybe take them into custody, but that's usually not the case. So anyhow, hopefully this video helps you out. Let me know what your experience is with recovering stolen property. I know I went a little bit too far into the cell phone portion of it and search warrants, just because I'm passionate about talking about criminal justice matters to you guys. So hopefully I didn't go too far away from originally what I want to talk about. So we discuss cell phones, recovering them, and recovering property that doesn't belong to you. Make sure that you're an agent of the property. Make sure that there's a good, solid contract between your employer and the client that states that you, as a private security officer, as an employee, are an agent for the property. Okay, and remember, if they take property from the employer or from the client, and during the process you try to effect the private person's arrest, if they use force against you, most likely that is going to be a robbery. Not all circumstances, but most circumstances. You guys all take care, and please be safe out there.